Welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning. Today, back on the topic of college football, something we haven't talked about in almost a year. Gators season opener where they took the win 35-14 over FAU. So today we're just going to be recapping that. A lot of positives and a lot of negatives out of this game. Before we get into the video, question today, drop your comments down below whether or not you think the Gators stand a chance against Alabama in week 3. Alabama won yesterday, 44-13 over Miami. Totally handled them, and Miami was is a solid program. So, drop your comments down below, and you'll hear what we think throughout the video. But Jay, what were your takeaways from yesterday's game? Actually, we were both there, so we got to see firsthand.
I think the biggest takeaway is the run game. Last year, we were all passing. Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney, Kyle Trask. These guys are now in the NFL. Now this year, we're looking at the run game. I think the stats was we ran for 400 rushing yards, and the combined passing yards between Anthony Richardson and Emory Jones was, I think, 150 or below 200.
About 150, yeah.
So you could call us RBU if you want, but that's just my biggest takeaway right away. That's the first thing that really hit my mind. I'm not complaining. I mean, we won the game. You can win games running the football, but the also biggest thing is that we need to find some type of balance. You know, I like to have that X-factor weapon, and if you look at going to the pros, it does transition. We're seeing more mobile quarterbacks, Lamar, Kyler, Russ. But when you're going against some systems like Alabama in the upcoming weeks, you need a great balance. You need a deep bag, a deep pocket. You need a lot of cards up your sleeves, whatever you want to call it. You need a lot of options to try and go up against those tougher systems and the toughest teams. And based on what I seen yesterday, I don't know if we necessarily have it. I'm not against the two quarterback system. It's just a little confusing. I want to see some more dominance because I don't really – if you got two quarterbacks fighting for the job, you don't really have a dominant number one, and that's not necessarily a good problem to have. But it's only week 1. There's going to be kinks no matter what. Even if Emory played the whole game or AR-15 played the whole game or we ran the ball the whole game, no matter what was going to happen, no matter who we played, there was going to be kinks along the way, and that's what I'm just going to be trying to look over this game. Instead of so much worrying about the negatives, which you could make a decent argument that there are a good amount of them, I'm just going to think of them as some first game mishaps. You know, this is the first game they've had a big crowd. There's a lot of variables to go into this as to why there could have been some bad spots, but there was also great upsides to look at as well.
Yeah, my initial takeaway really was something you kind of mentioned was last year we were such a pass-heavy team, and now we've done a complete reverse turnaround from that, and now we're really a pure running team, at least based off of week 1. You said there's a lot of variables and just a lot to look into for the remainder of the season. But we had 11 ball carriers last night in last night's game, including both quarterbacks. So 9 running backs got into the game and 11 guys carried the football. That's a lot of different guys in the backfield. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I think that it's good to be able to complement your pass game with a good rush game. But it looks like right now we might have a couple passes to complement 50 rushes in a game. So that was my first takeaway. But really, as far as the positives specifically, I liked the way Malik Davis ran the football last night. He was really the powerhouse and the workhorse of the offense. He ran for just over 100 yards on 14 carries. So he put in a lot of work in the backfield, a lot of tough yard. He didn't have any breakaway runs, but he fought for the yardage that he got. So I liked that a lot. And also Anthony Richardson out of the backfield carrying the football. He did have that one breakaway run for over 70 yards, but for the most part, throughout the rest of the game, he ran for 160 total, and also threw probably the biggest pass play of the night, 40-ish yards. I'm not really sure of the number, but Anthony Richardson definitely looked like the sharpest quarterback that we had on the field. And you mentioned maybe not being a huge fan of the dual quarterback system. I'm not either, but I think that's exactly what we would do in the first 2 games against FAU, against USF, some not as quality programs as SEC schools, is narrowed down to the one guy that we want under center for the rest of the year. So I'm not going to say right now whether I'd want to see Emory Jones or Anthony Richardson for the remainder of the season. But based off of last night, Anthony Richardson definitely shined more than Emory Jones did. They're both really good running quarterbacks. Neither of them are very gifted, at least it seems as of right now, through the air. So those are really my positive takeaways offensively. Defensively, didn't see a whole lot that I liked. Obviously, we held them scoreless until the last half of the fourth quarter. But their quarterback was able to throw for 260 against us. Did get a rushing touchdown later in the game. They put up 2 touchdowns late in the game. So for the most part, our defense held them at bay. But it just seemed like they picked up almost as many first downs as we did. And we really weren't lights out. We weren't playing defense any better than we were last year. And last year, that's what really held us back.
Yeah, and there are a couple exciting things as well, just outside of, the statistical and analytical part. Just watching the game, there was a good amount of action. It was relatively high scoring. There's turnovers on both sides. Emory gave up 2 picks. We got 2 fumbles. I think it was 2 forced fumbles.
Yep,
so it was fun to watch.
I do take that back. One thing, our defense, our front defensively putting pressure on the quarterback, I was impressed with. It was once the back or the quarterback got outside the tackles, then that's when we kind of weren't sharp. But as far as pressure on the quarterback, I was impressed with that.
Yeah, but I'm also curious. I don't watch FAU's film study. I don't know how good their O-line is, but it does make you curious. How good is our defensive line versus how bad is their offensive line? I'm hoping it's a little bit of both. I'm hoping it's all our defensive linemen are just badass. But outside of that, like I said, the action aspect, seeing that we could, just turn over the ball at times and get a couple takeaways, it just shows that potential is there, whether it is versus a bad team or not, just to show that we have that type of ground, that type of talent to be able to force a turnover at any play is really good to see, because last year we know, not that the defense was awful, but our offense was carrying us. Now it does seem a little bit more balanced, at least as far as the pass rush goes. They look to be very, very strong. I am curious to see more of the secondary just as more reps come along and more games come around. I think right now we're just in a hurry-up wait thing. It's such a small sample size to really have some bold takes and confidence in labeling these players and this team and this system. I just think it's too soon. But another thing is, outside of the defense, back to the offense, Dan Mullen's finding a way to put up some numbers no matter who we play. And that's why, I don't want to get straight into the Alabama versus Florida thing already, but that's why, he's my slimmer of hope as to why I think we can maybe snag a win from them. We might be 2-0 heading into that game. It'll be at home. The atmosphere, the energy, the confidence, the hunger, whatever you want to call it, I think we have a glimmer of chance, but still, we'll just have to see more out of USF. How do some of these guys pan out? Is it just our front four? Was it just their bad O-line? Those type of things that are 50-50, we need to find out more to determine how we match up against some of these better systems and teams.
Yeah, for sure. So really, all in all, our offense was, or at least our run game was sharp. Like you said, almost 400 yards total. Passing game wasn't great. I know we talked about the fumbles that we forced, which was good, but I know at least one of them we turned around, and then I think a couple incompletions, and we went 3 and out. So that could be sharper. But all in all, I'm happy, kind of happy with how we did, and I'm hopeful for the rest of the season. But then back to the question today against Alabama, I think this deserves more than just a couple seconds of conversation. Yes, there's a lot to learn in the next game against USF, how we're going to be looking against Bama. But looking at Alabama's quarterback, I'm impressed every year they come up with a new quarterback that's better than the previous one every year. So Bryce Young yesterday against Miami put up 344 yards and 4 touchdowns, which was a freshman record or season opening record. So that was really impressive. And if I'm looking at that performance against our defense based off what I saw yesterday, this could be a 2-score win by Bama easily or more.
Yeah, and again, not to just skip over USF, but that really gives me a better feel of how we will be entering it. Like I said, I do think
we should be 100% should be 2-0 facing Bama here in Gainesville.
There were a couple plays in this game, again, such a small sample size to really justify everything on it, but where it was like, 50 of it was Emory, just a bad pick, a bad throw, or some of it, there were some iffy throws, but they were questionable. I think Whittemore had a couple of questionable drops.
So
I think
Emory didn't get much help through the air by his receivers.
If they could fix those type of kinks, again, I'm not saying, Florida's going to win now, but it just makes it a lot closer as far as contention goes. Again, not picking them, not betting on them, but I'm a Florida Gator. I can't bet against them. I do think I have a chance, but how they do in week 2 against USF is going to really help me justify a lot more of these claims and takes.
Yeah, for sure. That's pretty much all for our takes. It might sound a little pessimistic of us to doubt the Gators, but it's all in good nature because we do think the Gators can get a lot better than what we saw last night. So, yes, we've got to see how they do against USF and then going into that Bama game. Remember to comment down below what you think about that Bama-Florida matchup and whether or not we stand a chance. But that's all for the video, guys. Thanks for watching. 2-Minute Warning.